Growing up with a hearing impaired father, it was never and then like getting into music, it was never like a, I'm doing this to spite him or any of that kind of thing. I think it was just kind of ironic in the end of it all. So I'd have to pick and choose where I would rehearse. He'd be napping or something, had a headache and napping, and I wouldn't even know, and I'd just come home and start playing, and it would be, like that's how I would get his attention basically, is, you'd shake, if he was across the room, I'd try to stamp on the floor, and like any vibration, that was the only way to really get his attention without physically being next to him. That's like a natural thing for him to be like, what's that when something's booming. So, and I boomed a lot. I was the drummer.
If I told you where I've been, you wouldn't believe me. If you taught me how to fish.
I'm not sure what the condition's called, but very, very young age. He was like 6 months old, and he had a really high fever, and it basically burned the hairs in your ear, the cilia. And that's basically how you hear. If you go into a live concert and just get blasted with music for 4 hours, and you come out, everything's kind of quieter. It's you might have a little ringing going on, like your hairs have like basically lied down in your ears. It's not common, but it happens frequently, more frequently I think than one would think. My grandparents on my mother's side, my great-grandparents rather, on my mom's side, were both deaf as well. That's how my mom and my dad met. Since my mom was working at this American School for the Deaf in West Hartford, and he was as well, and they just met, and here I am. It was just that divide between, like I'm growing up, I'm learning who I am, and I can't express that really to you in the most eloquent way as I can with words. It was a little more difficult just because I didn't communicate like he did. Can't fault him for that, really. Right. It's like, it's just kind of what the cards were dealt, Of all instruments, that's the one he might understand more, just because it is a physical, it's just like a, vibration thing kind of thing, it's like a more physical instrument. We recently played at the Hartford Civic Center, where the Whalers used to play, and we used to go see the Whalers there. So him coming to see me there was kind of a, kind of a full circle thing. It was cool. It was great to have him be like, because he came before the show, and we kind of like hung out backstage, and like, it was like an area that, we would only go in the public, in the seats and like up in the concessions. So, but like seeing the, you see all the big generators downstairs, and like it's a hockey rink or most of the time. So just seeing that kind of backstage kind of thing was really cool for him. But during the show, yeah, it was more just like visual kind of thing, and you could feel the bass, and you could feel the sound, the SPLs, that kind of stuff, that sound pressure coming from the subs, that kind of thing. But I think for him, he was like, the lights were like this crazy, it was crazy seeing all these lights, and he doesn't go to shows on his own normally. The last time he saw me, I was playing like a bar in New Haven. It was like a small dive spot. It says that like, he's not really meaning he can hear, but if there were, I think if they were the closest he could get to kind of thing, which is cool to know that I gave him that kind of feeling. I think, I don't know. It's very similar to growing up with someone that your dad or mom only speaks Spanish, or something like that, where your English-speaking parent also speaks the other language. I can't remember taking, having lessons in sign language. So yeah, I think it was just like it was just kind of a natural thing to grow up in. As far back as I know, I think it was just a natural thing. And, I would use that to my advantage sometimes. Like I would yell at him when he was, his back was turned. It was, like stupid kid shit that, I look back on, I'm like, oh man, that was, low point, but it was, you're frustrated and that kind of thing. And, especially in that kind of, I can't communicate with you properly, and we're fighting. Looking back, yeah, I wish sometimes I wasn't as harsh on him. You know, as you know, when I got to 17, 18, I was like actively kind of looking to move out and that kind of thing. I think I probably got more harsh than I should have been, and just frustrated in a way that you know, that because he couldn't understand, you know, because I was becoming, you know, I don't want to say this, but you know, I could see myself becoming more intelligent, and you know, I knew how to handle myself in these certain situations that he could still struggle with. But you know, looking back, it's like you can't hold that against someone, because it's not their fault. You know, it's like, he's my dad, and I just have to try to understand and try to help. A lot of that was just like me being a teenager and being, that's my dad, like, fuck you, dad, I know better than you. Just overall, I think just understanding is definitely key. And I mean, really in communicating with anyone. Understand where they're coming from, and trying to at least understand their position.
If I had the